Hey guys, my presentation is over the bibliography of the two guys that created um, Google. Hey guys, my presentation is over the bibliography of the founders of Google. The book that I read was called The Google Guys, Inside the Brilliant Minds of the Google Founders of Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And it was by the author Richard L. Brandt. The reason I chose this book is, as many of you know, I'm a Google trainer, and I've been really um, mesmerized by the company's growth and their willingness to listen to its users and how they've just kind of overtaken the educational realm. And so I really wanted to know more about the head honchos that ran this company and what their vision um, is for the future, and just kind of the history and stuff. So what we'll do is we'll actually look at the history, the brand of Google, and basically how it was started, the successes and failures, the leadership style, leadership competencies, significance, surprising and interesting things that I found about the book, are about the authors, are about the founders, and so forth. So to start out, a little history of the book. Larry and Sergey were researchers at heart. Um, they were PhD students, even though neither one of them completed their PhD. And their venture into Google was kind of unanticipated. It was based on a research project called The Anatomy of the Large Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine. The search engine was available at the time were not very efficient in quickly finding the most relevant results for the user. The issue was becoming increasingly complex with the explosive growth of the materials on the web. So Larry and Sergey decided that they would take upon the challenge of designing an efficient system for crawling information for the web, keeping the crawled information up to date, storing um, information efficiently, and handling many queries quickly. And in the process, they developed the PageRank technology, which ranks the quality of each web page using a complex calculation of link structure based on the linkages among web pages. Their confidence in their invention was so high that when selecting a name for the company, they picked up a modification of a mathematical term, Google, which is the name of the number represented by 1 followed by 100 zeros, and thereby indirectly conveying the company's unique vision to organize and procure infinitely large amounts of information for users and possibly make as much money. So, what were some of the successes and failures? Basically, one of the successes is when you look at Google, you are looking at the mother of all search. It was not supposed to be this big, but to help, but it was basically created to help in research, basically for the library system. However, their dedication to innovation and outside the box thinking led to this enormous creation. They have changed cultures and political systems. They have commercialized the internet and started an information revolution. Basically, the same way that Thomas Edison spurred the Industrial Revolution by harnessing electricity and saying, let there be light bulbs. The second thing that I feel like was a success and was repeated uh, throughout the book is that it said that Page and Brin refused to abuse the technology that mattered. They were respectful of its power. One comment that was said during their creation of Google was the angel was in the details. And if you recall from some of the previous books that I've talked about, especially from like John Wooden's leadership, is he always said that attention in the details. So you can see that great leaders basically are the pay close attention to the details. Some of the failures, even though the failures throughout the book were not evident, but what I gathered was that some of these things that happened, I guess, really helped build the company. First was the first computer at Stanford that they built used Duplos, which is a type of kind of like a Lego things that you put together. It crashed. That's what they built the first computer with. It crashed all the time because of the cheap parts would basically fall apart. The other thing that happened was when the company became real big, Larry and Sergey thought that they wanted to give their employees wonderful perks. And what happened is, with all these wonderful perks, they ended up spending a ton of money with free dinners and child care centers and all that kind of stuff. And it ended up costing them a lot of money. So they ended up backing up on a lot of those perks, even though the company still offers a lot of great perks. They had to relinquish a lot of the like free dinners and child care centers and stuff like that because it was just costing them a ton of money. And then another thing that Sergey said is that when he was in the youth and thinking about his family's reasoning for leaving the Soviet Union, he agonized over Google's decision to appease the communist government of China by allowing it to censor search engine results. But he decided that the Chinese would still be better off than without having Google available. However, in 2010, they withdrew from China after a cyber attack based in China and said this was due to a strong step in freedom of expression and information. So, leadership styles. According to Fortune's Miguel Hilft, there was a well-loved joke circulating the Google office. The joke goes something like this. A brainiac who works in the lab walks into Page's office one day wielding his latest world-changing invention. It was a time machine. And as a scientist reaches for the power cord to begin a demo, Page fires off a dismissive question. Why do you need to plug it in? This was why the leaders were so innovative, is because they always thought outside the box. Google's founders, Sergey and Larry, developed the internet search engine while pursuing their doctorates. After obtaining initial financing, they did something unusual. They followed the advice of experienced entrepreneurs and hired Eric Schmid to jumpstart their company, incorporating a blend of autocratic, laissez-faire, and democratic leadership styles. The Novel and Son executive brought experience into Google's dugout. The three immediately began scouting experienced talent to set up a democratic type of leadership. Google remains relatively democratic in its approach to product development under the CEO of Page. Gastil's definition of democratic leadership: distributing responsibility among the membership, empowering group members, and aiding the group's decision-making process. However, another leadership style mentioned was that of innovation leadership. According to the Center of Creative Leadership, innovation is two-tiered. An innovative approach to leadership and leadership for innovation. An innovation approach to leadership is applying innovative thinking on leadership tasks. And leadership for innovation is creating a climate where others are applying innovation thinking. So what are some of the competencies that were revealed in the book? I think the first thing that comes to mind is their work climate. Page and Brand created a work climate that motivates their employees to do their best by promoting perks and using constant communication on a daily basis. According to the Hay Group, a democratic leadership style promotes involvement, and we see this in the book as Paige sits in every interview in the engineering department and meets with every employee before their first day. The second is collaboration, and we see this all throughout the book, is where they seek to work in teams to build ideas, to innovate the cutting edge of new technology. The third is empower. The best companies are those that let employees behave like leaders. When team members are empowered to behave as leaders, they will not disappoint. Given the opportunity, empowered employees will work hard to meet and exceed expectations. Warren Bennis describes work as exciting when employees are empowered. It motivates through identification rather than rewards and punishments. The fourth is vision. Winford Newman said, "Vision is the world's most desperate need. There is no hopeless situations, only people who think hopelessly." He is right. The single greatest drawback to the advancement of your organization is a lack of vision. Until the vision is known, don't expect a culture of leadership to thrive, much less exist. Your challenge as a leader is to make sure you create the right culture that will persist through the good times and the bad, through the times of significant innovation and through the times where you don't hear much new at all. And I think that you see this all throughout the book, especially when the crisis of the internet, when Yahoo was starting to go down, when Amazon was taking off, and some other things. Google still stayed consistent and continued to grow. It was because of their innovative thinking. So, what is the significance of credibility, confidence, climate, community detected? First, they wanted to keep the company's culture idealistic, so they wanted to hire people that were just like them, innovative, on the cutting edge, hard workers, but they also wanted to have a good time through their creativity. Culture at Google was described as part university campus and a kindergarten playground. They always wanted to push the envelope and sustain and keep people that they have the same mindset. Brian, being the most outspoken of the two, once left a meeting with Amazon executives and said he needed some gasoline to light himself on fire to get rid of the scum. This was due to his confidence in his product, and he believed and still believes to this day that they have the best company basically in the world. So what I found surprising is if you look over that picture to the right is the original Google server. This is what is on display at Stanford. This was built out of the Duplos that I was talking about. And when you look at the history of Larry built his first computer basically out of Legos in grade school. And the funny thing is he repeated the stunt when he built Google's first computer server at Stanford. However, it did not actually use Legos at Stanford. It was the knockoff of larger box called Duplos. And then this is where they would later say that I guess failures. Those Duplos were much cheaper than Legos. They were very cheap, and so this would crash the system from time to time and fall apart and so forth, and you basically couldn't do anything until you rebuilt the whole thing. Another thing that I felt surprising was how much Stanford received on the patent. So those who did invest made fortunes. Stanford, which holds the patent for the PageRank algorithm Larry created, received 1.8 million shares of Google stock in exchange for long-term rights to the patent. Stanford's profit was $336 million, by far the most money it has ever received from spinning off technology invented on a campus. interesting, what I found, I guess, most interesting for me is that a company as large as it is, Larry and Sergey still meet with every employee hired, whether it's from custodial staff or from the CEO or vice president. They want to meet with every one of them to make sure that they have this innovation mindset that they have. So how did I apply this application of learning? Um, so I came away with basically four different things that I could apply with instructional technology or systems design. And that was, first, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. If you don't have a passion for it, then you shouldn't be doing it. Second is to never stop thinking. This is one thing that Larry and Sergey did all the time, is that they're always trying to build off of um, what they did last, to make it better than what it is. Do not be afraid to take risks, um, and always respect the technology. References will be listed below. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon.